Hi there, Irene here from Sugary Doo. Are you ready for the second half of our quilt? So if you finished all the previous blocks, then we are halfway. And today we are going to quilt these two little trees, tree 9B and 9A and 9B, and also these two little trees. So actually we're going to make 4 trees in this video. And that's going to be 2 with free motion quilting and 2 with ruler work. So let's get started. The idea we're going for is this little leaf structure over here. So we're going to stitch free motion, and then every once in a while we're stopping and making a leaf, and then continue stitching, making a leaf. And with that we're going to fill this tree. So if you watch me quilt this, then you can decide after that if you want to make your leaves bigger or smaller, and what kind of wiggle meandering structure you would like. So let's put that test piece aside and get started. This tree is at the top of our quilt, so I am going to fold this up on my lap so that it won't be tugging too much under the table. Make sure that you don't have your quilt double under the tree. So my plan for this tree is to go from here, fill up the space, and then end over here. Or maybe I will end in the side of the tree at some points, but I'm just going to start over here. So there we go. You make a little curvy line, and then you make a leaf kind of perpendicular to your line, and then I quilt in a tiny center of the leaf as well. So I'm not going so fast, so you have all the time to steer your work. So now I want to continue in the line that I made so that it would look kind of smooth. Then stop and make a leaf. And as you might see or might notice, I kind of let my machine run when I'm in the corner of a leaf. That way it's easier to make a sharp corner, I think. There we go, so that is what we're going for. Meandering and making leaves in the tree. So go ahead and choose your scale and have fun quilting your tree. So I was noticing in this corner that my leaves aren't turning out as pretty as the ones I quilted before. Kind of sloppy, so the shape isn't the way I want to, and here the leaf is touching. And then I noticed my quilt at the corner of my table is tugging a little bit, so it just made it harder to steer my quilt, and well, that shows in the tiny details. So if you notice that, just check if everything is laying correctly, and just take a little break and carry on. Moving on to tree 9B, and for me it's easier to have my quilt upside down because now I have a lot of bulk under the arm of my Q16, but the pattern is kind of symmetrical, so you can have it in any direction you like. So what we're going to do is quilt a spiral with a straight line ruler, and we're going to start at some point you choose, and then we're going to make bigger and bigger lines around it. So you can do that straight line quilting on your machine, but that will involve a lot of turning. So if you want to do this without a ruler, then you could try to do it free motion. That will probably be easier than straight line quilting. But if you're up for a straight line quilting challenge and turning your quilt a lot, then it's perfectly doable with just straight line stitching on your machine. So what we're going to do is stitch a tiny straight stitch in a direction you want. Then we're going to turn 90 degrees around the corner, then up, and then around the corner. So we're starting with a little square kind of shape, because the shape that you start with, let me zoom in, the shape that you start with will kind of determine how your pattern is going to grow, because we're going to quilt, well, along these lines. So I am going to keep them about 1/4 of an inch apart, but I am also going to make it not completely straight. So I'm just going to play with it a little bit. But this is the idea. So you're just making the shape bigger and bigger and bigger. And here I'm going to run into the side of my tree. So what I could do now is make this outside. And would that mean that I would stitch a little bit over the edge and then place my ruler here so you can see it better. Then stitch this way down, run into the tree trunk and then down a little bit and then back. And we can make one more line over here. And then we can also skip making this part. So now we only need to do this side and the other side of the tree trunk. There we go. So now this side is done. And I only need to do some stitching over here. There we have tree 9B. So you can vary also with this. You can make the lines further apart, closer together. You can twist every line so it's really going to kind of looks like it moves. So you can see that I made some lines a little bit under an angle. You can play with that. You can play with what you start with. I started with a kind of square rectangle shape. You can make a little free motion figure in here, or play with it, or keep it open so that you kind of skip the first line and that you have an open spiral in the center. So yeah, have fun with it. We are going to fill tree 10A with a flower that we will be making with the Tash ruler and fill up the rest of the space with straight line quilting. And if you don't have a Tash ruler but do have a circle set, then you can use the 2-inch or 6-inch ruler, and we're going to use the inside circle. Yeah, so that with that we're going to make also the flower. And the flower with the Tash ruler is about 3.5 inches big. And I'm going to place it over here a little bit off-centered, and I'm just going to mark the center point. So let's see if we can put it here. Then the center point of 3.5 inches is 1.75, so about here. Did I do that correctly? Yeah, 1.75. So then, yeah, my flower is going to be here. Yeah, so that is what we're going to do. Let's get started. Place your thread in the center, or your needle, place your needle in the center point that we just marked. And also place your foot inside the Tash ruler. And we're going to quilt the shape of the Tash ruler, the inside shape. And I'm going to point it straight down for my first shape. There we go, a nice little leaf shape. And then we're going to turn the ruler. And you're going to turn it until this little black marking hits your the line that you just quilted. And what that means is that you're placing it under a 60-degree angle. So if you would like to mark this, then just place a straight vertical line and then mark 60 degree and again 60 degrees. Every time we're going to end back in the center. So now again you're going to turn your ruler until that black line on the side hits the leaf that you just quilted. So this leaf should be pointing up, straight up. Two more to go. And the final one. So now I'm just going to center this in between the two leaves. Because when I line up this black line over here, then this black line isn't lining up completely anymore. So there we go. And that makes one pretty flower. Such a cool use of the Tash ruler, I think. There we have it. I am going to make one partial flower over here to fill up this space a little bit more. If you're okay with your space like this, then just start making straight lines. But I'm going to make partial flower in here so that I fill the space a little bit more. Couldn't help myself and made one more in this corner. What we're going to do now is fill up the shape, the space with straight lines, and then we're just going to go as far as a flower and then go back and fill it in. You can do that with free motion style quilting or use your ruler. Yeah, just pick what style you like best. There we have tree 10A, and as you might saw while I was quilting, I stopped and clipped my thread quite a few times, and that was because I chose not to run into my flowers. So when I would get stuck in a corner like this, I would clip my thread and start over, because I wasn't traveling on the flowers like I was here on my tree trunk. That's just a design choice. If you think it's easier to run into your flower and travel over the flower edge, that's also fine, of course. But yeah, there is the flower and straight line quilting pattern of 10A. And for our final tree 10B, I have a little challenge on my hand, because I'm going to show you a free motion quilting design that I like a lot but haven't done so often. So yeah, I don't have this down quite yet, but I think that's only good to show, because we're all practicing, and it's good to know that I'm also practicing. So with this one, we're going to start with a little line and a circle, and that will be the center of our flower. So we are going to quilt a nice flower in this tree. Whew. Yep, there we go. So we're going to make petal shapes around the center, and then when we run into our line or the tree trunk later on, you travel stitch a little bit down, and then you're going to go back the other way. Making these scallop petal kind of shapes. And this is just going to grow bigger and bigger. Mostly it always turns out that it's not that scary once you just start. I'm really happy with how this looks. Also, it still gives me a little bit of nerve showing something new to you that I haven't practiced a lot. Oh, please know that I don't always practice everything before I'm showing you, so I am also still in the learning process of a lot of designs. So now we're almost done. I think I could make a few pointy shapes here and maybe over here as well, so that it looks like it really runs off the edge of the tree. But on this side and this side, I think it's filled up nicely. Don't have to do this. So I think I'm just going to only do it in the bottom, on the bottom part of the tree. So just make little pointy shapes over here. What a super fun design to quilt. So I'm happy I decided to show you, and I'm really pleased with how this looks. So there we have flowers quilted with a Tash ruler, and here are flowers free motion quilted. So if you want to have the instructions for the Tash ruler, but then for the Tash flower, but then with a circle ruler, check out the Bernina blog. There will be an illustration to show you how to quilt it. There we go, we're done for this week. Quilted trees 9A and 9B, and trees 10A and 10B. Happy quilting, and see you next week. Bye!